KCOL Mornings.
.642 on 600 KCOL. So we were talking about the U.S. Supreme Court looking at gay marriage, and I guess when you look at the example that is given of this 83-year-old woman who married another woman, they had been partners for 44 years, and the one partner died, leaving Edie everything. And because it was a marriage between two women, she had to pay $363,000 in federal tax on the estate, whereas if she had been married to a man, she would have paid zero. She wouldn't have paid anything. The U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals in New York agreed with the district judge that the provision of the Defense of Marriage Act deprived Windsor of the constitutional guarantee of equal protection of the law. Joining us now is Angela D. Giampolo. She is a lawyer and principal of Giampolo Law Group and founder of PhillyGayLawyer.com, and she was in the court yesterday for the first or the second day of hearings on same-sex marriage. Angela, thank you for joining us this morning.
Absolutely, Al. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about this case where two women were partners for 44 years, and you have Edith Windsor, who is 83 years old. Her partner left her everything when she died, her estate, and she had to pay $363,000 in taxes on this. Whereas if her partner had been married to a man, the taxes would have been zero. I'm trying to figure this out. I can understand why those who are gay want to have equal protection under the law, under the Fourth Amendment. So this is a part of the argument, I think, that the great majority of the American people are not hearing.
I completely agree. I mean, I give seminars on this topic all of the time, and I invite politicians and straight allies to listen to really the legal and financial ramifications of DOMA, and sort of, you know, I never really talk about the moral or the label of marriage or anything. I really just try to hone into our straight allies the financial and legal burdens of 17 years of DOMA. I mean, this is one woman. Last year, over 9,000 inheritance tax returns were filed by same-sex couples, meaning, you know, they were like Edie and Windsor. And of those 9,000, over 40 of those had tax bills of upwards of $4 million.
My goodness. So,
I mean, for 17 years, I can't even imagine.
I'm just, you know, being naive about this, not very knowledgeable about this. I'm trying to understand what difference does it make if you're inheriting money, whether you're a same-sex partner or a heterosexual partner. In the eyes of the law, what difference does it make?
Well, you know, if we go back 17 years ago when this law was enacted, it really, to answer your question bluntly, it shouldn't matter, right? But when Bill Clinton enacted DOMA, a lot of his advisors kept telling him, because it was his way to sort of give something to the conservative right and stay in the middle, and so it was a political scapegoat for him to enact DOMA. And his advisors were telling him, don't worry about it, President Clinton, because it won't affect anyone. At the time, 17 years ago, there were no states in the Union that were legalizing gay marriage. So at that time, it really affected zero people. But then this topic has just evolved in our society so quickly that very shortly thereafter, in 1999, so it was enacted in 96, in 99, we had Vermont with civil unions, and then, 2000, then 2004. And so very, very quickly, we started to have hundreds of thousands of people affected, but when it was enacted, it was technically zero.
Now, yesterday, the High Court was looking at Proposition 8. Monday and Tuesday, and you were there in the court, I understand. Give us a sense of what you saw, and apparently it appears, and tell me if this is correct, that there's going to be a narrow ruling on this by the High Court.
Absolutely, and for the last several months I've been predicting that. I really didn't think, like some of the more optimistic pundits that there was going to be a 50 statewide sweeping ruling on this. I just didn't think so. But what I was very disappointed by and what I was not expecting was some of the language and the dialogue and questioning that occurred by the Supreme Court justices. So, and granted, he's one of the more conservative, and I shouldn't be shocked, but you had Judge Alito likening my wanting to get married as an experiment, quote unquote. You know, this experiment has been going on since 2000. Where he got that date, I don't know. And it was created in the Netherlands, he said. I mean, this thought is just so preposterous. First of all, that he's calling my wanting to get married an experiment that should percolate a little bit longer so we can, study the effects of this experiment. And we were called homosexuals all throughout. I mean, that term went out in the 70s. We just go by gay people. So some of the language and the questioning was really archaic and disappointing. But from a legal perspective, I think it's going to be a narrow ruling, but that's not to say that's not necessarily a horrible thing. It doesn't mean it can't be revisited. A lot of people don't realize that when interracial marriages were illegal and unconstitutional, it had come before the Supreme Court 15 years earlier, and they punted it then, too.
Angela, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but thank you very much for joining us. This is fascinating, and we'll be following this closely, as I know you will be. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Angela. That is Angela Giampolo.